YouTube, what's going on? You're now tuned into the vibration of Ricky Chavis, making this video to talk about a few things. One of the things I want to talk about is this virus really real, or is it just a complete hoax? Some people are just saying it's just a hoax. Some people are saying everybody's just completely making it up. I also want to talk about quantitative easing and the inevitable crash of the US dollar and what that's going to mean for Americans. I also want to talk about the new digital currency that they plan on rolling out no later than January 2021. I also want to talk about the stimulus package. Where's all this money going? And most importantly, who's going to have to pay it back? So the first thing I want to touch on is the inevitable depletion of the US dollar. And what is that going to mean for Americans? What that's really going to mean when the dollar finally collapses, and it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. What that means is the cash that you and I walk around with on a daily basis, whether it be in your wallet, whether it be in your purse, will be useless. It'll be no longer worth anything, nada, zero. We've already seen this scenario in other countries such as Zimbabwe. Their currency collapsed in 2008, for example. So if you want a good reference, you can look at Zimbabwe 2008 during the economic collapse. They were printing up about $97 billion a month to the point where they valued their currency so low to the point where it was literally worth nothing. It was so depleted. They would literally throw the cash in the streets because it was worth nothing. They would rake the cash up and put it in a pile and set it on fire just to stay warm, you know, in the colder climates. To give you a better idea of how devalued and depleted their currency is, you can take 40 cents of American money and you can take it to Zimbabwe, and our 40 cents is worth $100 trillion in Zimbabwe. I'm talking about 2 dimes. You can take 2 dimes to Zimbabwe and you'll be worth $100 trillion. That's the best way to explain it. If you don't believe it, you can take the time to look it up, and I love fun facts like that. And I also want to say this, a lot of things that we view now as normal, as all these changes take place, a lot of these things are not even going to be, a lot of these things we're going to look back and laugh at. I'm talking about life as we know it is going to be completely different. A lot of the trends and things that's going on now, you'll never see these things again. I'm going to give you an example of one of them. Check out this video.
Me on my kids. Ooh. Tell the haters, I thank you for hating me. Tell my grandma I love her.
And so as we begin to move slowly into a cashless society, you'll see trends like that become something of the past. Meanwhile, we're seeing trends like this become something in the present. You really can't make this stuff up, but I want to take it back full circle. I want to go back to the devaluation of the currency. The United States is doing the exact same things Zimbabwe was doing, which caused their currency to become depleted. You know, the United States is just doing it on a much larger scale. That's why we continue to see all these economic crashes over and over and over again. And one of the main ones I want everybody to go look at is the Great Depression in 1929. It happened on October the 19th. They had a huge stock market crash. You get to see a blueprint of what we're going through now, but except for what we're going to go through when they finally collapse our dollar, it's going to be much, much worse than that. But what we're dealing with now as far as the martial law, the curfew, the economic crash, this is just a prerequisite for when they finally devalue our dollar to the point where it becomes depleted. If they don't go ahead and deplete it now, because they may go ahead and use this situation to go ahead and deplete the dollar now. But and the reason why I say that is because the economy was going to collapse regardless, whether we had a virus or not. The economy was going to crash in 2020 or 2021, whether or not we had a virus or not, because the things that took place in 2008 that caused our economy to crash was never fixed. They just did a quantitative easing the same way they just did with the stimulus package. They threw out trillions of dollars, but they never actually fixed the problem that was responsible for it. So they kicked the can down the road, and they allowed the bubble to continue to blow up, and to the point where eventually it was going to pop. So all they needed with the virus was a boogeyman for the people to fear, and also for the people to look at and blame for the economic crash. That way you won't look at the actual people who are responsible for it, such as the bankers, the politicians, the CEOs that were actually responsible for it. You will actually blame the coronavirus, and they get away scot-free. And so they needed the right boogeyman to create the right diversion. So I was looking at the $6 trillion package they had the other day. I was looking at the news, and I was listening to this guy talk about the $6 trillion lie. And I was going through it, just really kind of just decoding everything he was saying. So I want you all to kind of listen to it, and after I come back from this video, I'm actually break this down for you. Check this out.
So the total package here comes to roughly $6 trillion, $2 trillion direct assistance, roughly $4 trillion in Federal Reserve lending power. Again, it'll be the largest Main Street financial package in the history of the United States. Liquidity and cash for families, small business, individuals, unemployed, to keep this thing going. We're heading for a rough period, but it's only going to be weeks, we think. Weeks, months, not going to be years, that's for sure. And hopefully pave the way for continued economic recovery.
And so out of that $6 trillion stimulus package that they're going to give us, which taxpayers have to pay back, because remember, the stimulus package is coming in the form of a loan. So not only taxpayers of this generation, but taxpayers of generations to come. That means your children's children will have to pay it back in the form of hyperinflation, super high taxation, meaning what we'll pay for a bar of soap now, our children's children may pay quadruple for that bar of soap. You know what I'm saying? So out of that $6 trillion, only $2 trillion of that is going to actually go to the people. The other remaining $4 trillion, the majority of it, is going to go to the biggest corporations on the face of the planet. Small businesses get loans too, but if you think about this, I come in, I ruin your small business, and then I offer you a cash loan in order to help you keep it. If that ain't mafia, I don't know what is. But a lot of these small businesses, like the small restaurants and some of these dry cleaning places, these places are going under. They won't survive this. A lot of these small businesses will never come back. And so things are going to be a lot different when everything goes back to normal. In fact, it might be a huge difference. And I hate to even say it's going back to normal, because it'll never go back to normal. Let's go ahead and erase that, matter of fact. But anyway, one of the lies that he told was that this would only last a few weeks, a few months at best. False. Every recession lasts between 6 months. I'm talking about 6 months at the minimum, 18 plus months at the maximum. And so that's a lie. It is definitely not going to be repairing itself in weeks. You can forget about that. When you look back at the Spanish flu, when you look back, that took about 18 months just for it to burn out. It's all about how fast it takes them to develop the vaccine. And then you have people like me who don't even believe in vaccines. But for the people who do, it takes about 12 to 18 months just to create a vaccine. And so for all my investors out there, if you haven't already, I want you to go ahead and search out these companies that are already working on this vaccine. And you need to locate the stock symbols. Once you locate the stock symbols, you can go ahead and I recommend you go ahead and get highly invested. And so the bailouts will continue. The $6 trillion is not it. It's going to continue to go up because what we're looking at, we're going to the end of a major debt cycle. We're looking at the shift of the world monetary currency. I mean, we're living in history right now. Whenever they throw out trillions of dollars like this, what it does in turn is it puts certain business sectors into a bubble, and it offsets the economy at the expense of other portions of the economy. So those other business sectors have to be stolen from. So some people become rich at the expense of the other people that they're going to impoverish. And that's how economics works. But that's fundamental economics. And that takes me to my next topic, which is digital currency. They want to take us off of the paper money, and they want to place us on a digital currency, meaning everything you have, everything you own will be placed onto a ledger. You'll sign it over to a ledger. That ledger will be linked to a digital account, which will be linked to your digital wallet, which will be a card that will be issued to you, or you can use an electronic device like a laptop, cell phone. It'll be similar to Cash App, basically just like Cash App kind of. That's what you'll use. Nobody will be able to purchase, buy, or sell unless they have the digital wallet. The digital wallet will be issued by none other than the Federal Reserve and the same banking system that I'm not even going to talk about because I don't want this video to get deleted. And also I want to get into whether or not this virus is real or not, because some people are saying this whole virus is a hoax. They're saying the whole thing is a complete hoax. Is the virus real or not? Here's my response. Check this video out. Even if you don't believe the virus is real, there's another virus among us that nobody's really talking about, A virus more deadly than the corona ever has been or ever will be. And it's called the mainstream media. And the real pandemic is fear, as we watch it go viral all across the world. If you like what you heard, click that subscribe button. Thanks for listening.